A 200-ton stone rests in a wall where no crane could ever reach. This is the reality of impossible megaliths, ancient structures that defy everything we know about engineering. By the end of this journey, you will see 20 monuments that modern science still cannot explain. We will uncover how stones were cut with laser-like precision thousands of years ago, and why some blocks are so large their very movement seems magical. What does our inability to replicate these wonders say about the past we think we know? These colossal stones are more than just building materials. A megalith is any monument constructed from massive, often unworked stone, a definition that seems simple until you witness the reality. From the windswept plains of Europe to the dense jungles of South America, ancient builders chose the heaviest, most permanent substance available to make a statement that would echo for millennia. They did this without the wheel, without steel, and in many cases without written language to draft a blueprint. The scale of their ambition is the first layer of the mystery. Moving a stone weighing as much as a space shuttle is a monumental task today with hydraulics and diesel engines. Yet, these cultures accomplished it with nothing but human ingenuity, ropes, and possibly wooden rollers. Archaeologist Colin Renfrew emphasizes that the true wonder is not just the stone, but the society behind it. To quarry, transport, and lift these blocks required a level of social organization that rivals our own. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of people had to work in concert for years, united by a shared belief or a powerful communal identity. This was not merely construction, it was an act of faith carved into the landscape itself. The deeper puzzle lies in the precision. How did they achieve such seamless joins between multi-ton blocks that a razor blade cannot slip between them? How did they shape granite, one of the hardest stones on Earth, with what we assume were simple stone or copper tools? These common threads weave a global tapestry. Why did cultures separated by vast oceans and continents all turn to megaliths to express their deepest beliefs about the cosmos, the ancestors, and their place in the world? It is as if the very act of moving a mountain became a universal language. To begin unraveling this, we must look at a single stone that defies all conventional logic, a block so immense it seems to have been placed by giants. This global phenomenon unfolded during a span of time we call the Neolithic and Bronze Age, a period that stretched from roughly 10,000 to 1,000 years before the Common Era. It was a world lit only by fire, where metal was a rare treasure and the written word was unknown across vast stretches of the globe. Yet from the mist-shrouded highlands of Peru to the sun-baked plains of Lebanon, a shared ambition took root. Communities began to move mountains not for shelter but for something far more profound. Their drive was a complex tapestry woven from spiritual belief, a deep desire to understand the cosmos, and the need to demonstrate collective power. A stone circle aligned to the solstice sunrise was a calendar, a temple, and a declaration of unity all in one. An impossibly large foundation stone for a temple was both an offering to the gods and a testament to the ruler who commanded its placement. The methods they used, however, have faded into silence. Scholars today engage in a quiet debate that echoes the scale of the stones themselves. Were these feats achieved with lost technologies, knowledge that simply vanished from the human record? Or were they the result of ingeniously applied simple machines, levers, ramps, and ropes used in ways we have yet to fully comprehend? Some even wonder if these cultures possessed a different, more intuitive understanding of physics, a way of working with stone and earth that modern engineering has overlooked in its pursuit of steel and silicon. This context is vital. It reminds us that each impossible site we are about to explore is not a random anomaly. it is a chapter in a much larger, global story of human aspiration. It was a profound impulse to build something that would whisper to the future, "I was here." Our story was important, and we understood the world in a way you might have forgotten. With that understanding as our foundation, we can now begin our journey to the first of these 20 marvels, a place where the stones themselves seem to defy the very laws of gravity. The colossal stones of Baalbek do not simply rest in the ground, they seem to erupt from it. In the fertile Bekaa Valley of Lebanon, the ruins of a Roman temple complex stand upon a foundation that predates Rome itself by millennia. Here, 3 monoliths known as the Trilithon form a platform of such staggering scale that they challenge the narrative of ancient engineering. Each block is a behemoth of limestone, measuring roughly 20 meters long, 4 meters high, and 4 meters wide. Their weight is almost incomprehensible, estimated at over 800 tons each. To put that in perspective, that is heavier than 2 fully loaded Boeing 747 jumbo jets. These are not rough boulders, they are precision cut with clean, sharp angles and remarkably smooth surfaces, quarried from a site over a kilometer away. The question is not just how they were moved, but how they were moved up a gentle slope and then lifted nearly 7 meters into position to form a seamless, level foundation. Modern engineers equipped with the strongest cranes and hydraulic systems would find this a daunting, high-risk operation. The sheer mass creates immense internal stresses, and any miscalculation in support or leverage would cause the stone to fracture under its own weight. The Roman builders, or perhaps the earlier civilization they built upon, left no written manual. The common explanation involves a system of ropes, wooden rollers, and legions of laborers. Yet, even with thousands of people pulling, the coordination required to navigate such a load without it sinking into the soft earth or crushing the wooden track beneath it borders on the miraculous. The precision of the stonework deepens the mystery. How were these near-perfect right angles and flat planes achieved with iron chisels and stone hammers? The local name for one of these blocks, the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, speaks to a legend that it grants fertility, a folk tale that hints at the awe these stones have inspired for centuries. They were more than a foundation, they were a statement of divine favor and unconquerable power, set in place by a people whose understanding of mass, leverage, and collective will remains partially hidden from us. This Lebanese Leviathan sets a formidable standard. A stone so large its very existence asks us to reconsider what ancient societies were truly capable of achieving. The scale of Baalbek speaks to raw power, but high in the Andes, a different kind of genius reveals itself. The walls of Sacsayhuamán are not just built, they are woven. Perched on a mountainside overlooking the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, this fortress complex presents a stonework puzzle that modern masons struggle to comprehend. The stones here are not uniform bricks, but massive, irregular polygons of hard andesite, some weighing well over 100 tons. Each block is uniquely shaped, with as many as 12 different angles and faces, carved to fit perfectly with its neighbors. The result is a wall where no 2 stones are alike, yet they interlock so seamlessly that for centuries, locals and visitors alike have said not even a razor blade can slip between them. And all of this was accomplished without a single drop of mortar. This was not mere construction, it was a form of stone tailoring, where every block was custom fit in a 3-dimensional jigsaw puzzle on a monumental scale. The purpose was both practical and profound. This polygonal masonry created walls with incredible flexibility and strength, allowing them to sway and settle during the powerful earthquakes that frequently shake the region rather than crack and collapse. While our modern rigid structures often fail, these ancient walls have stood unshaken for over 500 years. The mystery deepens when we ask how. How did Inca craftsmen, using stone hammers and bronze tools, achieve such flawless precision on one of the hardest types of rock? the process of shaping, test-fitting, and adjusting these multi-ton blocks would be a painstaking challenge even with laser guidance and diamond-tipped saws. Furthermore, the andesite was quarried from sites several kilometers away, requiring these colossal puzzle pieces to be transported up and down the steep slopes of the Andes. The common theory of using log rollers and earthen ramps seems almost comically inadequate on such terrain. The walls of Sacsayhuamán stand as a silent testament to a culture that viewed stone not as an obstacle, but as a medium to be conversed with, shaped through a combination of patient skill, profound geometric understanding, and a communal effort that turned a mountainside into a tapestry of stone. It is a reminder that stability does not always come from rigidity, but sometimes from a perfect, harmonious fit. While the walls of Sacsayhuamán were built by an entire civilization, the next marvel was the work of a single, determined individual. In the humid Florida landscape of the early 20th century, a quiet, 5-foot-tall Latvian immigrant named Edward Leedskalnin accomplished something that defies simple explanation. Working almost entirely alone under the cover of night and shrouded in secrecy, he single-handedly quarried, carved, and positioned over 1,000 tons of massive coral rock to create what is now known as the Coral Castle. The visual contrast alone is staggering. A slight man of barely 100 pounds maneuvering blocks that weighed many tons each, blocks that would normally require industrial cranes. This secrecy fueled endless speculation, with onlookers and later researchers wondering if he had somehow rediscovered lost methods of anti-gravity or perhaps a form of acoustic levitation. Leedskalnin himself was cryptic, claiming only that he understood the secrets of the pyramids and the laws of weight and leverage. He spoke of understanding the magnetism of the earth, suggesting he could perceive forces that conventional science overlooked. The proof, however, is in the precision of his work. One of the most famous features is a massive revolving gate, a solid piece of coral rock weighing 9 tons. He engineered it so perfectly balanced on a simple metal shaft and automobile bearing that for decades, a child could push it open with a single finger. It was a feat of such delicate equilibrium that when the gate failed in the 1980s, a team of modern engineers with all their tools struggled to rehang it. Even after their work, it never moved with the same effortless grace as when Leedskalnin had set it in place. His entire complex is filled with such wonders, a 25-ton obelisk, stone rocking chairs that weigh thousands of pounds yet move with a touch, and celestial alignments carved into the heavy rock. Coral Castle stands as a powerful reminder that the mysteries of megalithic construction are not locked solely in the distant past. Here, within living memory, one man demonstrated that profound gaps remain in our understanding of mass, balance, and the subtle forces that might be harnessed to move mountains. It suggests that the ancients may not have needed forgotten technology, but perhaps a forgotten perspective, a deep, intuitive mastery of physical principles we have since complicated with machinery. This bridge from a modern enigma leads us back millennia to a discovery that proves ancient genius extended far beyond moving stone into the realm of calculating the cosmos itself. Scattered through the dense jungles of Costa Rica's Diquis Delta lie artifacts of such geometric purity they seem transplanted from another world. The stone spheres, numbering in the hundreds, are not rough carvings but objects of startling perfection. Some are modest, the size of a basketball, while others are colossal orbs over 2 meters across, weighing more than 15 tons. Their discovery in the 1930s, as the United Fruit Company cleared land for banana plantations, only deepened the enigma. Workers hacking through the rainforest suddenly uncovered these flawless shapes half buried in the earth, as if some ancient game had been abandoned and reclaimed by the jungle. The immediate puzzle is one of craftsmanship. The spheres were fashioned from gabbro, a hard volcanic rock, using only other stone tools. Achieving a perfect sphere from such material is a formidable task of geometry and patience, requiring the artisan to constantly check symmetry from every angle, removing material evenly across the entire surface. The consistency is baffling. How did different artisans, likely working generations apart, produce so many spheres to such a uniform standard of roundness without a shared template or measuring device we can recognize? Their purpose is a quiet debate among researchers. Some suggest they were astronomical markers arranged to point to celestial events. Others see them as symbols of power or social status, placed near the homes of leaders. Another theory proposes they were territorial markers, denoting sacred or important land. Each idea carries weight, but none fully explains the obsessive drive for spherical perfection. Then comes the second, equally daunting challenge: logistics. Once carved, these multi-ton orbs had to be moved, sometimes for kilometers, through one of the most difficult terrains on Earth, a tangled rainforest of mud, rivers, and steep inclines. Transporting a perfect sphere is a unique engineering headache. Unlike a block that can be slid or rolled on cylinders, a solid sphere risks digging into soft ground or developing flat spots if rolled improperly over a long distance. Any significant chip or abrasion would ruin the precise geometry that took so long to create. The builders must have developed a sophisticated method, perhaps using woven cradles or carefully prepared causeways, to deliver these fragile giants intact to their final resting places. They stand now as silent, polished mysteries, a testament to a culture that valued ideal form in a chaotic world. This pursuit of celestial perfection in stone leads us naturally to a place where architecture itself was designed to capture the motion of the heavens. The silence among the stones of Carnac is not empty, it is profound. Across the windswept Breton countryside in France, more than 3,000 prehistoric standing stones march in eerie, parallel rows for kilometers, a monumental grid carved into the earth itself. These granite menhirs were raised over a 1,000-year period, beginning around 4,500 years before the Common Era, by a Neolithic society that left no written record of their purpose. The immediate impact is one of overwhelming scale and organization. This was not a single ceremonial circle, but a vast, planned landscape project of staggering ambition. To erect just one of these stones, some weighing over 50 tons, required the coordinated labor of dozens, if not hundreds of people. To quarry, transport, and position thousands of them in deliberate lines that sometimes run perfectly straight for over a kilometer speaks to a society with extraordinary communal discipline and a shared vision that spanned generations. The common granite was local, but moving these massive blocks across the uneven terrain without the wheel or draft animals remains a logistical puzzle. Modern experiments using replica techniques often struggle with the sheer friction and weight, suggesting the builders possessed refined methods we have yet to fully replicate. But the true mystery of Carnac lies in its alignment. The rows are not random. Many are precisely oriented to the rising and setting points of the sun and moon at key times of the year. This suggests the complex functioned as a colossal astronomical observatory and calendar, a stone computer built to track celestial cycles that govern planting, harvest, and ritual. What kind of society possessed this sophisticated knowledge of the cosmos and the will to translate that knowledge into a permanent stone scripture across the hills? It speaks of a culture deeply attuned to the rhythms of the sky, one that invested centuries of labor to anchor those celestial patterns into the very land they lived on. From this vast field of collective effort, we now turn to a feat that seems to defy the most fundamental law of physics, a single stone that has held its impossible pose for centuries. The sheer weight of a megalith is often its most defining feature, but what happens when that weight is held in perfect, impossible balance? Perched on a gentle slope in the ancient coastal town of Mahabalipuram, India, is a sight that seems to defy the most basic law of gravity. Known locally as Krishna's Butterball, this gigantic granite boulder, estimated to weigh 250 tons, rests on a smooth, hillside bedrock incline at a precipitous angle. Its contact point with the earth below is astonishingly small, creating the visual illusion that it is moments from rolling down the hill. For centuries, locals and travelers alike have walked right up to it, even standing in the shadow beneath its overhang for photographs, a testament to a collective, unspoken trust in its stability. The name itself comes from Hindu mythology, comparing the stone to a dollop of butter the mischievous god Krishna would have stolen, a playful story for a monument that seems to play a very serious game with physics. The engineering mystery here is not about movement, but about the defiance of movement. How can something so massive remain static on such a shallow slope? Granite against granite creates significant friction, but the angle and the minimal surface area in contact seem to challenge the limits of that principle. History records a fascinating attempt to solve this puzzle by force. In the early 20th century, a colonial governor, skeptical of its perceived immovability, is said to have commanded 7 elephants to try and push the boulder off its perch. The attempt failed completely, the stone not budging even an inch. This failure only deepened the enigma. Geologists offer 2 primary explanations, each with its own complications. Some propose it is a glacial erratic, a stone carried and dropped by ancient ice flows. Yet, the specific geology of the region makes this a subject of debate. Others suggest it could be a natural formation, weathered into its current position over eons, but its location on a carved, finished hillside near other famous rock-cut temples leads many to wonder if ancient artisans saw this natural wonder and perhaps subtly modified the slope beneath it, locking it into its dramatic pose intentionally. Whether a freak of nature or a feat of subtle engineering, Krishna's Butterball stands as a masterclass in equilibrium. It demonstrates that stability is not always about a wide, solid base, but can exist in a state of delicate, calculated tension. This natural spectacle of balance prepares us to examine a man-made structure where equilibrium was not an accident, but the very cornerstone of its immortal design. Beneath the sands of Abydos lies a structure that contradicts everything we expect from ancient Egypt. The Osireion, hidden below ground and often missed by those seeking the pyramids, is a monument of raw, overwhelming power. Its central hall is a stark chamber of colossal red granite blocks, some weighing 100 tons, surrounded by a trench designed to hold water. This creates the image of an island sanctuary, a symbolic tomb for the god Osiris set within a primordial ocean. But the true shock comes from its style. Unlike the elegant hieroglyph-covered temples built by pharaohs, the Osireion is cyclopean, built from massive, minimally shaped stones fitted together with a brutal, imposing simplicity. It feels older, more primordial, as if it belongs to a different age entirely. The precision, however, is undeniable. These gigantic blocks are joined with the same hairline accuracy found in the finest above-ground temples, but here the builders achieved this feat underground, working below the natural water table. This presented a staggering challenge, constant seepage and flooding that would have turned the construction site into a muddy, unstable pit. How did they plan the precise angles and levels? How did they maneuver these multi-ton slabs in such a confined, waterlogged space without modern pumps or lighting? The renowned Egyptologist Flinders Petrie, upon excavating the site, expressed profound astonishment at its complexity, noting that the engineering seemed to belong to a different school of thought altogether. Some researchers quietly suggest its architectural fingerprints resemble those found in much older, megalithic sites around the world, hinting at a layer of Egyptian history that predates the pharaohs we know. The Osireion forces a difficult question: are we looking at a uniquely ambitious Egyptian project, or evidence of a far more ancient legacy, buried and then incorporated into the sacred landscape. This descent into an underground world of stone and water prepares us for an opposite feat, a temple not buried but violently liberated from the heart of a mountain itself. The Osireion subterranean mystery is one of hidden construction, but at Ellora, the ancient architects performed a feat of revelation. The Kailasa temple is not a structure that was assembled, it is a mountain that was unmade. Standing before it, the mind struggles to reconcile what it sees. This is not a building of stacked stones, but a colossal, free-standing temple complex, complete with a central shrine, pillared halls, intricate galleries, and life-sized sculptures of elephants and deities, all carved from a single, monolithic block of basalt. The process was not additive, it was subtractive. Imagine standing atop a solid rock cliff and commanding your workers not to bring stone, but to take it away, and to take it away with such perfect vision that what remains is a masterpiece. The numbers are staggering. Historians estimate that over 200,000 tons of rock were painstakingly removed, not with explosions or jackhammers, but with simple iron chisels and hammers. This was sculpting on a geological scale. The impossibility lies in the planning and the precision. Unlike building upward, where you can correct course as you go, this vertical excavation was a one-way journey. The master architect had to hold the entire, intricate, three-dimensional form of the finished temple in their mind before the first chip of rock was struck. There was no room for a critical error, no way to reattach a pillar if it was carved too thin. The excavation had to proceed from the top down, with workers dangling from the cliff face, carefully defining the soaring towers while simultaneously hollowing out the inner chambers below, all while maintaining the structural integrity of the whole. Modern engineers have calculated that such a project, using the presumed tools and workforce of the 8th century, should have taken many lifetimes, perhaps centuries, to complete. Yet historical inscriptions and stylistic evidence suggest it was accomplished in a fraction of that time, under the reign of a single king. This discrepancy fuels a quiet awe. How was such a coordinated, rapid removal of material achieved? Some researchers speculate about advanced, lost techniques for softening or fracturing rock, while others point to the sheer, overwhelming will of a society dedicated to a divine vision. The Kailasa temple is a monument to reverse engineering, a testament to the power of seeing the form within the stone and having the unwavering conviction to remove everything that is not that temple. This act of extracting a sacred space from solid rock finds a haunting parallel on a distant island, where another culture performed a similar miracle, but for a purpose that remains shrouded in silence. The desert holds its secrets in stone and shadow. At the heart of Saudi Arabia's Tama oasis, the Al-Naslaa rock formation stands as one of the world's most visually arresting geological puzzles. Two colossal sandstone pillars, each taller than a person, stand perfectly balanced on small pedestals, separated by a single, breathtaking feature, a fissure so straight, so smooth, and so precise it appears to have been sliced by a colossal, impossibly sharp blade. The cut runs from the top of the formation to its base with a geometric perfection that feels utterly alien in a landscape shaped by wind and time. Adding to the mystery, the surfaces of these rocks are canvases of antiquity, covered in ancient petroglyphs depicting human figures, horses, and ibex, markings that date back thousands of years and prove this site held deep significance for nomadic cultures. The central debate hinges on a simple but profound question: is this a miracle of nature or a monument of lost skill? Geologists offer a natural explanation, suggesting a vertical joint or fault line in the rock was exploited over eons by freeze-thaw cycles or tectonic shifts, causing it to cleave with unusual neatness. Yet for many who stand before it, this explanation strains against the evidence of their own eyes. The cut is not merely straight, it is preternaturally smooth, with a consistent width and an orientation that seems too deliberate. Could the ancient artists who carved the petroglyphs have also refined this natural fracture, using advanced, unknown tools to widen and polish it for a ceremonial or astronomical purpose? The formation's alignment has led some researchers to note its potential as a solstice marker, with the split perfectly framing the sun on specific days. Whether a stunning natural accident or a refined human artifact, Al-Naslaa serves as a powerful symbol of the thin, often blurred line between the work of the planet and the work of human hands. It challenges us to reconsider what natural processes can achieve and what ancient artisans with patient observation and skill might have chosen to perfect. This ambiguity of origin vanishes completely with our next marvel, a structure whose human authorship is undeniable, but whose construction method dissolves into a logistical impossibility. The Siberian taiga guards its secrets with a deep and silent cold. Far from any known ancient civilization, in the remote mountains of Gornaya Shoria, lie stone blocks of such staggering size they seem to belong to the realm of myth. These are not simple boulders weathered by time, but colossal pieces of granite, the largest among them estimated to weigh an astonishing 3,000 tons. To grasp that scale, picture a modern naval destroyer. Then imagine that entire mass carved from a single piece of solid mountain. It dwarfs even the mighty Trilithon of Baalbek, making it perhaps the single largest worked stone complex ever discovered on our planet. The discovery itself is a story of modern exploration, as researchers and adventurers began to document these giants only in recent decades, finding them scattered across a harsh, mountainous landscape dense with forest, a place where even basic survival is a challenge. The immediate, overwhelming question is one of movement. How could any culture, ancient or otherwise, even begin to contemplate transporting a 3,000-ton block of granite? There are no rivers here capable of floating such a mass, no flat plains over which to drag it. The terrain is a brutal mosaic of steep slopes and rocky outcrops, a natural fortress that seems to defy the very idea of megalithic transport. Yet the stones themselves whisper of intention. Their surfaces are not the random fractures of natural geology. Many exhibit distinct flat planes, sharp right angles, and what appear to be deliberate cuts, features that strongly suggest the hand of an intelligent designer. Some blocks look as if they were meant to interlock, like pieces of a cosmic puzzle abandoned before assembly. The profound mystery is compounded by a haunting absence. Unlike the pyramids of Egypt or the temples of the Andes, there is no associated archaeological context here, no pottery shards, burial sites, or tool fragments to tell us who these builders were. No known culture from this region in any historical period has been credited with such titanic stonework. This void forces us to expand our thinking. Were these the work of a lost and advanced civilization that flourished before the last ice age, a culture whose entire legacy is these mountain-scaled stones? Or do they represent a completely unknown chapter in human prehistory? One where the manipulation of mountainous stone was achieved through methods we have not yet conceived. The Gornaya Shoria megaliths stand as the ultimate challenge, a silent, frozen question mark carved in granite. They push the limits of ancient engineering into a territory that feels almost supernatural, compelling us to wonder if some chapters of our past are written in a language of stone we have only just begun to decipher. The geometric perfection of Gornaya Shoria speaks of raw, mountainous scale, but at Pumapunku, the mystery shrinks to an almost microscopic level of precision. This Bolivian highland site, part of the ancient Tiwanaku complex, resembles a cosmic architect's workshop after a cataclysm. The ground is littered with shattered andesite and red sandstone blocks, but to call them mere stones is a profound understatement. They are geometric artifacts of bewildering complexity. We see blocks with intricate, interlocking channels cut with razor-sharp, 90-degree angles, H-shaped clasps that seem designed to slot together like pieces of a giant stone Lego set, and surfaces so flat they could serve as modern optical benches. The most baffling features are the drilled holes, perfectly cylindrical and spaced with mathematical regularity, some running through hard stone at angles that would challenge a modern drill press. This is not the work of hammer and chisel. It bears the unmistakable signature of precision tooling. The andesite stone used here is exceptionally hard, a 7 on the Mohs scale, similar to modern steel. To achieve these millimeter-perfect tolerances, these flush joints, and these flawless right angles on such a material suggests the use of advanced machinery, a concept utterly alien to the pre-Inca Tiwanaku culture that flourished here over 1,000 years ago. The level of precision implies a system of measurement and quality control that borders on industrial. It looks less like traditional masonry and more like prefabrication, as if these blocks were mass-produced to exact specifications for assembly into a structure whose final form we can only guess at. The purpose of the complex is a quiet debate among scholars. Some see it as a grand ritual platform, a sacred space designed to awe and disorient. Others propose it was a highly specialized workshop or a symbolic representation of a cosmological ideal. But the how remains the central, haunting question. How did artisans without iron tools or the wheel achieve this machining-like finish? Experiments with replica stone and copper tools consistently fail to reproduce the sharpness and consistency of these cuts. The stones of Pumapunku present a paradox, a display of micro-engineering in a macro-scale world, forcing us to wonder if an entire chapter of technological sophistication has been lost to the Andean winds. This focus on intricate, small-scale perfection now shifts dramatically to a civilization that applied its genius not to individual blocks, but to the monumental task of moving them across an entire island. Deep within the heart of the Great Pyramid, in a room built to last for eternity, rests an object that contradicts its own presence. The granite coffer in the king's chamber is not a decorative afterthought. It is a sarcophagus carved from a single, immense block of rose granite, a stone far harder than the limestone that forms the pyramid's core. This simple fact creates an immediate and profound logistical paradox. The coffer is massive, weighing an estimated 80 tons, and its external dimensions are slightly wider than the narrow ascending passageway that leads to the chamber. This means it could not have been brought in after the pyramid was completed. The only logical conclusion is that this 80-ton monolith was placed in the chamber's exact center while the pyramid was still being built, and the massive limestone walls and ceiling were then constructed around it. Imagine the precision required to build a monumental stone structure with perfect alignments, all while leaving a precise void for a giant granite box that had to be maneuvered into its final resting place with absolute accuracy, long before the roof went on. The challenge of positioning, however, is only the first layer of the enigma. The second, and perhaps more baffling, is the coffer's creation. Its interior is a hollowed-out space with remarkably smooth, flat walls and sharp, perfect 90-degree corners. To achieve this with the presumed tools of the time, copper saws and abrasive sand, is an exercise in almost unimaginable patience and skill. Granite is brutally hard, and sawing through it with a soft copper blade and sand is an excruciatingly slow process, one that would have required constant resupply of abrasives and replacement of worn tools. Modern experiments to replicate this technique confirm it is possible, but the time and labor involved are staggering, suggesting a level of dedication and resource allocation that speaks to a project of supreme importance. But the deepest mystery might be the hollowing itself. How did they begin? How do you start to carve out the interior of a solid granite block, creating a cavity with such uniform depth and smooth surfaces, without the benefit of modern drill bits or core boring equipment? Some researchers have pointed to the possibility of using tubular drills, perhaps made of copper with abrasive slurry. but drilling a perfect, large cavity to such a consistent depth in this material remains a partially unexplained feat. This coffer was never meant to be seen again, sealed away in the dark behind tons of stone. Yet its very existence, from its impossible placement to its painstaking craftsmanship, forces us to ask what knowledge the builders possessed that we have simplified as mere primitive effort. It stands as a silent, polished symbol of a process we can mimic but never truly replicate with the same constraints, leading our gaze from this hidden interior to the carefully arranged landscape that surrounds the pyramid's base. Stonehenge stands as a circle of giants, but its true secret lies in the smaller stones within. These are the blue stones, and their story is one of the longest, most arduous journeys ever undertaken in prehistory. Each of these pillars, weighing up to 4 tons, is not local. Geologists have traced their origin to the Preseli Hills in Wales, a distance of over 250 kilometers. To a Neolithic community, this was a trek across the entire known world, over rugged mountains, through dense forests, and across treacherous rivers and estuaries. The sheer scale of the logistical operation is breathtaking. It would have required generations of planning, coordination, and backbreaking labor to move perhaps 80 of these stones. Modern experiments, like the famous attempt to float a replica bluestone on a wooden raft, have demonstrated just how perilous such a journey could be, with the stone sinking almost immediately in rough waters. This forces a profound question: why? Why go to such extraordinary lengths for this particular stone? The answer may lie in the stone itself. The spotted dolerite of the bluestones has a unique, speckled appearance and when struck produces a distinctive ringing sound. More intriguingly, the springs around the Preseli Hills were known in antiquity for their supposed healing properties. This has led researchers like Professor Timothy Darville to propose that the stones were not just building material, but were believed to carry the essence of a sacred, curative landscape. They were not merely transported, they were pilgrim stones, their immense physical journey imbuing them with spiritual power long before they were raised on Salisbury Plain. The debate between human transport and glacial movement continues, with some scientists suggesting Ice Age glaciers could have carried the stones part of the way. Yet the final, deliberate arrangement at Stonehenge, carefully placed in specific patterns and alignments, speaks overwhelmingly to human intention. This was a conscious, monumental act of cultural importation, bringing a piece of a distant, holy mountain to the heart of a new ceremonial complex. It reveals a society capable of conceiving a project that would outlive its originators by centuries, a testament to a belief so powerful it could move mountains, stone by stone, across a land. Their journey across the landscape was a slow, silent procession of giants. The Moai of Easter Island are not simply heads staring out to sea. They are complete figures, some standing over 10 meters tall, with their torsos and elongated bodies now excavated from the earth that once buried them. The largest of these statues, named El Gigant, lies unfinished in the quarry, a colossal form that would have weighed over 80 tons if completed. This remote volcanic island, one of the most isolated inhabited places on Earth, presents a paradox of monumental ambition against extreme limitation. The Rapa Nui people who carved these moai had no metal, no wheels, and no draft animals larger than chickens. Their world was stone, ocean, and sky. Yet from the soft volcanic tuff of the Rano Raraku quarry, they extracted nearly 1,000 of these figures, each one a unique individual with distinct features, and then moved them across kilometers of rugged, hilly terrain to stone platforms called ahu along the coast. The act of carving was a feat of artistry and patience, but the true impossibility lies in the journey. How do you make an 80-ton stone statue walk? Oral tradition passed down through generations speaks of a method called moai mana, where the statues were made to walk upright, rocked from side to side with ropes by teams of people. This theory, while compelling, presents immense practical challenges. The statues have a high center of gravity and a relatively small base. A slight miscalculation in the rocking motion would send them crashing face first into the ground, shattering centuries of work. Alternative theories propose they were laid prone on wooden sledges or rollers and dragged, but the island's sparse tree cover raises questions about the availability of enough large timber for such a massive logistical operation. Modern experiments have tried to replicate these methods, with teams of volunteers succeeding in moving replica moai, but often at a pace of just a few hundred meters per day and with a significant risk of damaging the statue. These attempts, while informative, highlight the staggering investment of time, coordination, and communal will required. To move just one statue might have taken a community months, and there are nearly 1,000 of them. This drive reveals a society wholly dedicated to a spiritual and ancestral purpose. The moai were not mere monuments. They were believed to be vessels for the living essence, or mana, of deified ancestors, facing inland to watch over their descendants. The scale of the endeavor speaks to a culture where this connection to the past was the central pillar of life, an investment of collective energy so profound it shaped the very landscape. This intimate relationship between ancestor and stone, between spiritual belief and physical exertion, finds a different expression in a place where the walls themselves seem to be woven from living rock. The gate is guarded by lions of stone, their gaze frozen in a silent 3,000-year-old challenge. At the entrance to the citadel of Mycenae, the famed Lion Gate announces a kingdom of raw power and architectural audacity. This is not a delicate entrance, it is a monumental threshold designed to intimidate and awe any visitor approaching the stronghold of a legendary king. The engineering marvel here is a masterclass in solving a fundamental problem: how to create a wide, stable opening in a massive defensive wall. The Mycenaean builders achieved this with a technique known as a corbelled arch, or more accurately, a relieving triangle. They placed two colossal upright stones to form the doorway, then laid an enormous lintel block across the top, a single slab of grey limestone estimated to weigh over 20 tons. Above this lintel, instead of continuing with more heavy masonry that would risk cracking it, they constructed a triangular space. This triangle was filled with a sculpted slab of finer limestone, depicting two lionesses or perhaps griffins flanking a central pillar. This triangular block is not merely decoration, it is a brilliant structural solution. It redirects the immense weight of the wall above away from the vulnerable center of the lintel stone, channeling the forces down along the sides of the doorway instead. The true impossibility lies in the placement. How did they lift that 20-ton lintel, a stone the size of a small truck, to a height of several meters and set it perfectly level on its two supports, all without cranes or hydraulic lifts? The surrounding walls, known as Cyclopean masonry, offer a clue to the mindset of these builders. They consist of gigantic, irregular limestone blocks, some weighing many tons, fitted together with such cunning precision that the joints are tight and secure despite their rough-hewn appearance. Later Greeks, seeing these walls, believed only the mythical one-eyed Cyclopes could have moved such stones. To raise the lintel, archaeologists suggest a combination of earthen ramps, wooden levers, and ropes made of plated leather or plant fiber, with teams of laborers working in unison. Yet the coordination required to inch such a weight upward and then slide it horizontally into its exact position, with margins for error measured in mere centimeters, speaks of a society with profound practical knowledge and commanding organizational skill. This was more than a gate, it was a declaration. It told all who approached that the rulers within commanded not only armies, but the very mountains themselves, able to summon stone and shape it to their will for both defense and symbolic glory. The silent lions above, guarding a pillar that may symbolize the goddess of the palace, watch over a legacy of Bronze Age engineering that connects this Greek citadel to the even older, mysterious stonework scattered across prehistoric Europe. Spirals carved into stone speak a language older than words. On the sun-drenched island of Malta, the Sacsayhuamán temples hold a unique duality, a marriage of immense physical force and delicate artistic grace. These structures are not just old, they are among the very first freestanding stone buildings ever created by human hands, predating even the pyramids of Giza. Their walls are built from colossal limestone slabs, blocks weighing many tons that were quarried, dragged, and precisely positioned to form curved chambers and ceremonial spaces. This architectural ambition alone, achieved by a Neolithic society with no metal, would be impressive enough, but the true wonder emerges when you look closer. Etched directly into the surface of these massive stones are intricate, flowing reliefs of spirals, scrolls, and patterns of incredible sophistication. The contrast is breathtaking, the brute, overwhelming weight of the megaliths adorned with art of patient, meticulous beauty. The creation process becomes a puzzle of almost contradictory skills. First, the community had to solve the logistical nightmare of moving these giants. Using only stone mauls, wooden levers, and ropes of plant fiber, they extracted the limestone, likely rolling it on stone spheres or dragging it on wooden sledges across the island. Then came the even more delicate phase, the carving. The artists did not have chisels of bronze or iron. Their tools were sharp flakes of chert or obsidian, a volcanic glass. To incise these deep, smooth, flowing spirals into solid limestone with such fragile tools required not just artistic vision, but an extraordinary mastery of pressure and angle. Each curve represents countless hours of patient, focused labor, a tapping that transformed a wall of rock into a canvas of symbolic meaning. Scholars believe these spirals were not mere decoration, but a sacred language, perhaps representing the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, or a depiction of the growing cycles essential to their survival. This combination of macro-engineering and micro-artistry points to a society of remarkable specialization. Some individuals mastered the physics of mass and leverage, while others dedicated their lives to the spiritual symbolism of the stone. They understood architecture in the round, creating curved walls and apses that required careful planning to remain stable, all while ensuring the decorated faces were perfectly oriented for ritual viewing. The Sacsayhuamán temples stand as a complete package of Neolithic genius, where the message was inseparable from the medium. The sheer weight of the stones spoke of permanence and power, while the delicate spirals whispered of cosmic cycles and cultural memory. This seamless blend of strength and subtlety in the Old World finds a startling parallel across the Atlantic, where another culture performed a similar feat of balance, but on a landscape so vast it seems to defy human scale. The fortress of Ollantaytambo stands as a monument to Inca defiance, but one wall in particular tells a story of logistical genius that borders on the supernatural. Here, 6 colossal slabs of pink rhyolite, each towering over 4 meters high, are fitted together with a precision that would be demanding for a jeweler, let alone a builder working with stones weighing hundreds of tons. These are not local stones. Their origin lies on a mountainside across the sacred valley, separated from the fortress by a deep gorge and the furious, untamable waters of the Urubamba River. This creates a 3-part puzzle that modern engineers still struggle to solve. First, the stones were quarried high on a distant slope. Then, they had to be transported down that mountainside, a treacherous descent with gravity as both an ally and a deadly threat. Next came the impossible crossing, moving these behemoths across a wide, rushing river without the benefit of bridges capable of holding such weight. Finally, and perhaps most astonishingly, the stones were hauled up the steep incline to the fortress site and lifted into their current positions. The sheer vertical distance and rugged terrain make the use of simple log rollers or earthen ramps seem almost fantastically inadequate. The stones themselves offer a cryptic clue. Their surfaces are marked with unusual, smooth protrusions like stone knobs or bosses. Researchers believe these were not decorative but functional, designed as anchor points for ropes in a sophisticated rigging system that has been lost to time. This suggests the Inca did not just drag their stones, they controlled them, using counterweights and leverage in a ballet of coordinated force. Once in place, the stones were locked together in a defensive wall with those characteristic seamless joins, a final act of perfection after a journey that seems to defy the very landscape. Ollantaytambo is not just a fortress, it is a testament to a culture that saw no obstacle as insurmountable, a fitting prelude to the final three marvels that stand at the very edge of our understanding. Beneath the turquoise waves off Japan's southernmost island, a silent city sleeps. The Yonaguni Monument emerges from the seabed as a series of colossal stone terraces, its flat platforms and sharp, 90-degree angles starkly geometric against the organic curves of the ocean floor. Discovered by a diver in the late 1980s, this underwater labyrinth immediately sparked a profound debate that continues to this day. Is this a breathtaking natural formation, a quirk of sandstone sculpted by millennia of powerful tidal currents? Or are we looking at the sunken ruins of a megalithic complex, a structure carved by human hands when this spot was dry land, over 10,000 years ago? The implications of the latter are staggering, suggesting a chapter of advanced engineering and social organization in prehistory that conventional timelines do not account for. Proponents of the man-made theory point to specific features that seem unnaturally precise: wide, flat terraces that resemble plazas, straight channels that look like roadways, and even two prominent pillars that appear to support a massive roof slab overhead. Most compelling to some are the twin monoliths that look eerily like a giant set of steps, with treads and risers carved at consistent intervals. If this was a natural process, critics ask, why would ocean currents carve something that so perfectly mimics human architecture? Geologists offer a powerful counter-argument, explaining that the sandstone in this region naturally fractures along horizontal and vertical planes due to tectonic stresses. The relentless surge of the Kuroshio current, one of the strongest in the world, could then erode these fractures, washing away softer material and leaving behind the clean, stepped platforms we see. They point to similar, though smaller, formations found elsewhere in the world created by such processes. The debate hinges on this fine line between natural forces and intelligent design. If it is artificial, the engineering challenge is almost beyond comprehension. To carve this from solid bedrock would have required a massive, organized workforce operating at what was then sea level, using tools and techniques we have not yet attributed to that era. Its subsequent submergence, whether by rising seas at the end of the last ice age or a catastrophic tectonic shift, adds a layer of profound mystery. This aquatic enigma forces us to confront the possibility that our maps of ancient human achievement are incomplete, that significant chapters of our story may be hidden not in deserts or jungles, but beneath the waves, waiting for the currents to part and reveal their truth. The hunter-gatherers of Göbekli Tepe did not wait for civilization, they built it. In the rolling hills of southeastern Turkey, a discovery rewrote the timeline of human ambition. Here, over 11,000 years ago, a society that had not yet invented pottery, that had not yet domesticated animals or planted the first wheat, achieved something that should have been impossible. They carved and erected massive T-shaped limestone pillars, some standing 5 meters tall and weighing 20 tons, arranging them into great stone circles. The sheer scale of organization required is staggering. To quarry these monoliths from nearby bedrock using only stone tools was a monumental task in itself. But the true marvel is the artistry. These are not plain posts, they are canvases of a lost world. Their surfaces are adorned with intricate, high-relief carvings of foxes, boars, cranes, and scorpions, a menagerie of the wild world these people inhabited. The precision of this stonework, achieved with flint and obsidian chisels, speaks of generations of specialized artistic tradition, of master carvers passing down their skills long before the written word. The logistics of moving these pillars, even a few hundred meters, present a profound puzzle. Without oxen or wheels, the only engine available was human muscle. This suggests a level of social cohesion and shared purpose that archaeologists once believed only emerged with settled farming communities. Göbekli Tepe turns that assumption on its head. It reveals that the drive to create monumental, sacred architecture may have been the catalyst for civilization itself, not the result of it. The need to feed and coordinate the hundreds of workers building these circles could have spurred the very development of agriculture in the surrounding region. This site is a quiet earthquake in our understanding of prehistory. It suggests the roots of megalithic engineering are not thousands, but tens of thousands of years deep, planted by people whose names and stories are lost to time, but whose legacy stands in silent, carved stone. If such sophistication existed at the very dawn of our settled world, it forces a humbling question: what even greater wonders, now lost, might have been created in the deep, unrecorded past? The true scale of the Great Pyramid is not captured by its height alone, but by the sheer, silent perfection of its base. Across a foundation covering 13 acres, an area large enough to hold 10 football fields, the ancient builders achieved a level of flatness that defies belief. The variation across that entire, massive plain is less than 2.1 centimeters, a discrepancy smaller than the width of your thumb. To put that into a modern context, imagine trying to level an entire city block using only ropes, water-filled trenches, and stone tools, and achieving a surface more precise than most concrete slabs poured today with laser-guided equipment. This was not a foundation, it was a geological artifact of intentional perfection. The alignment of its sides to the cardinal directions is another quiet shock. The pyramid's base is oriented to true north with an error of just 3/60ths of a single degree, an accuracy so refined it would not be matched again for thousands of years. This was a civilization that mapped the stars and then pinned their greatest creation to the axis of the Earth itself. The method behind this remains one of history's most profound puzzles. Did they use the circumpolar stars, tracking their slow arc across the night sky to find celestial north? Or was there a more subtle, lost technique involving the sun's shadow at the equinox? This foundational precision created the stage for the next act, the assembly of over 2.3 million limestone blocks. Each block, averaging 2.5 tons, was not simply stacked but fitted. The average gap between the massive core stones is a mere 0.5 millimeter, about the thickness of a credit card. This consistency across millions of individual joints speaks of a standardized process, a quality control system that operated on an industrial scale millennia before the industrial age. The common explanation of copper saws, abrasive sand, and earthen ramps feels hauntingly inadequate when confronted with this mountain of millimeter-perfect masonry. How do you maintain such tolerances while hauling blocks from quarries kilometers away, up increasingly steep inclines, with teams of laborers using only ropes and levers? The precision suggests an intimate, generational knowledge of material science and structural physics. A knowledge applied with such confidence that they built a 480-foot-tall mountain of stone without leaving behind a single blueprint we can recognize. This is not merely ancient engineering, it is a language of stone written with a grammar of angles and alignments we are still learning to read. The pyramid's core stands as the ultimate benchmark, a silent question carved into the desert that asks us what we have forgotten about the marriage of human will and geometric truth. From the balancing rocks of India to the submerged structures of Japan, a consistent truth emerges from these 20 impossible sites. Our ancestors across continents and millennia possessed a profound ingenuity and a mastery of technique that we are still striving to fully comprehend. These are not merely old stones arranged by chance. They are deliberate challenges carved into our historical narrative. Each seamless joint and each perfectly aligned block is an invitation to humility, asking us to reconsider the timeline of human achievement and the depth of knowledge that can be lost to time. More than puzzles, they are ultimate monuments to human perseverance, to a universal drive to create something permanent, to speak to the future in the most enduring language available, stone. Perhaps the greatest lesson from this global tour is a simple yet profound one. The past still holds secrets. History is not a closed book whose final chapter was written long ago. It is an ongoing excavation, both literal and intellectual. With every new technology, from ground-penetrating radar to satellite imagery, we peel back another layer, often finding more questions than answers. What other mysteries lie buried beneath deserts, hidden within jungles, or resting on ocean floors, waiting for the right moment to reshape our understanding of who we are and where we came from? If you found this exploration of ancient engineering awe-inspiring, please consider subscribing for more journeys into the unexplained corners of our world. We would love to hear your thoughts. Which of these impossible megaliths baffles you the most? Share your perspective in the comments below.